Ben. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Sorry.
That's okay. All right, so here we are at land use. It is September 9th, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Actually, we're getting started at 7:08 p.m. later than I wanted to. But let me know when Dean joins the meeting, please. So a couple of updates I have. I wanted to first and foremost thank Assemblyman Adrin Nazarian for speaking on behalf of all of our neighborhood, Studio City, in regard to the SB 1120 bill that would have allowed parcels of land lots to be split and 4 dwelling units added on each half. So it failed, it didn't pass. I think it was very close to midnight, the last day of August. So he did a fine job in speaking up, and the bill failed, SB 1120 failed. So I wanted to say thank you for that, appreciate it. And let me just check one more time.
Here, Lisa.
What's that?
Your friend Glenn isn't here.
Okay, I did have another announcement, but I'll do that later. So we're going to go on to public comments on non-agenda items within the committee's jurisdiction. And I'm going to allow only 1 minute on this. And I just want to stay basically within that 1 minute perimeter. Dean is having internet problems. He will dial in, he said. So who wants to keep time? Richard, do you want to keep that 1 minute time, or Jesse?
Yeah, I'm happy to do it.
All right, thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
All right, who do we have? Do we have any hands up?
How do we raise our hand?
Let me see.
In the side, you click on participants, and then there's a little raise hand icon. All the participants should come up, and there's a raise hand icon.
Okay. Okay. I see that, but that's okay. That's fine. I'm raising my hand. I'll just say it.
Who is it, Pam?
Yeah, it's me.
Okay. Pam Friedman is raising her hand.
Okay. Yeah. So a non-agenda item is there was a update of some sort to the way the Sportsman's Lodge whole event center thing has been revised in some meaningful way. And I live just across the wash and did not receive one of those. And a straw poll by some of my neighbors did not receive one either. So has the rules changed regarding the 500-foot rule on that? Just a question. I'm done. Question.
All right, thank
Answer it?
you. We're not answering questions right now. We're just taking public comments. So Adele, are you minding the list?
Yeah, I can do that. Um, no one else has raised any hands for public comments, as far as I can see.
Scott looks like he's raising his hand.
I saw Sandy. Did Sandy have a hand up or no? Maybe that's-
Yeah, my hand was up. Did you just call on me?
Scott, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Scott Mandel here. I was listening into the SCRO Zoom meeting last night, and
Hey,
their focus was primarily on Harvard Westlake. And they had brought up, due to changes in the Sportsman's project, that their attorneys are going to be demanding a new impact study and traffic study because the two relate. And I'm wondering if it cuts both ways. Will the Sportsman's project, or those who I guess are opposed to it, be teaming up with the Harvard Westlake people to make sure that both of the studies are in sync with each other as projects seem to be growing at the same time? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, are there any other public comments?
Sandy, did you have your hand up? You have to unmute yourself. We can't. I don't see any other hands up.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So responding to public comments, we're going to go ahead and start with number 6, and I'm sure you'll find your answers within the discussions that are coming up. So number 6, presentation, discussion, and possible motion, the shops at Sportsman's Lodge. A master conditional use permit allowing up to 8 new restaurants consisting of up to 3 with a full line of alcoholic beverages and up to 5 with beer and wine only for on-site consumption, totaling up to 16,191 square feet and 608 indoor seats, and up to 4,046 square feet of patio dining with up to 304 patio seats. The sale of a full line of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption with instructional tasting and 6 seats within a new full-service 11,825 square foot supermarket, and the sale of beer and wine for off-site consumption at a 2,680 square foot retail space, all located on the 1st and 2nd floors of a new retail, restaurant, hotel complex with hours of operation from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily in the commercial 1.51VL-Rio zone, case number DIR-2014-886 SPPA, comma, DIR 2010-1000-SPPA, comma, ENV-2010-1001-MND, comma, ENV-2014-887-MND at 12833 and 12835 West Ventura Boulevard, comma, 4218 dash, comma, rather, 4220, comma, 4230 North Coldwater Canyon Avenue, Studio City, California 91604. Introducing Representative Valerie Sachs, and as well as the applicant Ben Besley. So, Valerie, did you want to go ahead and?
Yeah, sure. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Lisa, for reaching out to me so early in the process. Is the audio good?
Yes.
Okay. And for consolidating us on one meeting. So I really appreciate that and all of her communication and so forth. So just a small clarification, and I apologize, I should have reached out to you about this the other day. So those case numbers that you just cited were all prior case numbers. The current case number for the master is, where'd it go? It's ZA 2020-4944 MCUP.
Can you repeat that? Can you
Sure.
repeat that?
It is
2020?
ZA 2020-4944 MCUP, and ENV 2020-4945 CE. And I can give you the other ones as we get to the master plan approvals. That's probably the best way to do that. That being said, the description, of course, was complete and, you know, gives everybody notice as to what we're talking about. So,
Okay.
I have with me here, my name is Valerie. I'm hoping my dog can do that. My name is Valerie Sachs, liquorlicense.com, and I'm here, as you know, on behalf of the shops at Sportsman's Lodge for the purpose of discussing their MCUB application. And I'm also here representing 5 of the master plan approvals that were filed contemporaneously with the master. And I have the applicant's representatives for that as well. So I have Ben Besley, who I believe you guys are pretty much all very familiar with from past components of this project. And I have Jillian O'Connor, she's here for Takaya Organica. And I have Anthony Hernandez, and he is available to answer any questions that you might have regarding the 3 Sushi Nozawa restaurants. That's the parent company. You know, there's Sugarfish, Hi-Ho, and Wobo. And then I have Yuval Chiprut with Erewhon. So, but I think we're going to mostly talk about the master first, and I'll, for the most part, leave the details about the other uses until we get to those uses, unless it shapes up in some other way. So I'll kind of follow your lead a little bit as far as what the rest of the team wants to do. So anyway, obviously everybody is very familiar with the Sportsman's Lodge. It's a Valley institution, and I know that you've been, you know, there have been various approvals that have been needed for various things having to do with the Sportsman's Lodge in recent years, including obviously this shops at Sportsman's Lodge, which is going to be this basically beautifully designed retail space with a lot of indoor-outdoor flow and beautiful landscaping. And it's, you know, has linkages with the hotel complex, but is also its own, you know, and has shared parking and so forth, but is also very much its own, you know, space, or its own venue, or, you know, gathering space. I mean, it has a very very gathering space sort of feel, rather than kind of a traditional shopping center. What is before you this evening is one major component of that, which is of what was already approved, and that has to do with the alcohol component. So there were prior approvals that covered this entire space and covered a lot of retail space, you know, the gym and some other things. We're only talking about the components of the use that pertain to alcohol. So whereas the original approval, or the approval, it had approved 24,251 square feet of restaurant space, among other things. This, the total here is, sorry, I don't have all these numbers memorized, 16,191 square feet of restaurant space. In that space, the concept is up to 8 new restaurants, 5 of which would be beer and wine only, pursuant to a Type 41 ABC license, and up to 3 of which would be a full line of alcohol, which would be a Type 47 ABC license. So the Type 47 is considered to be a more intensive use. So it is possible that one of the 3 restaurants, one of the 3 spaces that is designated, or that one of the 3 potential restaurants with a Type 47 full line might end up just being a Type 41 beer and wine. But the idea of this is to have an envelope of the maximum that they're going to potentially want to use, and then there will be subsequent plan approvals, including the 5 that you're going to look at tonight, and whatever else happens down the pipeline, either before the master is approved or sometime in the future, you know. So that's the concept, and I think you guys are all very familiar with master CUBs and so forth. But so maybe I'm going to a little bit too much more detail. But anyway, so that's the idea. In addition, there is approval for a full service supermarket, which is going to be Erewhon, for them to sell a full line of alcoholic beverages for offsite consumption, as well as periodic instructional tasting events. And then they will need a finding of public convenience and necessity before the city council, because there is an overconcentration, like there is virtually every place that's in a commercial area in the LA area. And it's
Can you repeat that? Can you repeat what you just said?
Oh, okay. It will subsequently need a finding of public convenience and necessity for the city council. Any offsite use needs that. I think bars need them as well. And you know, the concentration level is like 3 offsite uses within the census tract, 2 or 3, which is, you know, absurdly low given how much commerce there is and how many commercial uses there are in the area. Does that?
I'm not understanding that at all. If you could just like clarify that. Yeah.
Okay.
Valerie, is this specific to the Erewhon use?
Yeah.
It's specific to the Erewhon use. Let's talk about that later. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good. So basically, that's the overall concept. So I don't know if you have any questions, comments, concerns that have to do with the overall. I think just one other thing is it's a maximum, so that even though there's up to 8 new restaurants approved, they may or may not actually use all of those 8 spaces for restaurants with alcohol service. They may or may not use all that square footage. They may or may not have all those seat counts. They may or may not have uses that are open from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. or all of the uses, you know, not all of the uses are going to take advantage of that time frame, but it's basically the idea is to have a maximum, and they can use parts of it and to give them operational flexibility depending upon how the tenants shape up and what the needs are and so forth, especially, you know, over a long period of time.
Okay. So Ben, go ahead.
Thank you. Could you tell
Just
I was
start to say
I was
something.
winding
Yes.
up. So first of all, thank you as well, Lisa, for having us and for taking all of these items in one meeting. I want to point out a few things and add a few things to what Valerie has just laid out. The first is having to do actually with some of the things in the public comment, having to do with the site plan and the square footage of restaurant and that sort of thing. That's not what's on the agenda this evening, but from some of the comments that I've heard just in this meeting, you know, and sort of using my own intuition about how long I've been involved in this project and what level of detail versus how long you all have been relating to this project and your sort of level of detail and understanding. The plan has necessarily changed because the design that we had originally inherited from what Richard Weintraub approved didn't work for a number of reasons. But all of the site layout you see and the you know, amount of restaurant space versus market space versus retail space has all been reviewed by the city. I'm more than happy to, in a separate meeting, you know, review all of this with you all again. I think I was before the neighborhood council, maybe it was a year ago, and brought a site plan and, you know, and talk that through. But I just want to make it clear that that's, you know, what I think some people are seeing this evening is new to them. And that I don't want to, you know, want to focus this evening's conversation on specifically the CUP, but let you know that I'll be available to discuss that in greater detail with any number of people that would like to. The second thing is, you know, we are, the reason we're doing this MCUP process is because this allows all of the different restaurants to be evaluated at the same time so that the neighborhood council and the public can understand all of them. The alternative is that one comes in at a time and you're looking at a plan that has sort of, you know, one here and then a month later a different one, and you're sort of trying to keep track of what's going on. This is one complete application that says this is what we're asking for. We know who 5 of these tenants are going to be, and we're very, very proud of the, you know, the businesses and the concepts and the design that these tenants are going to bring, and would love to share with you, or I'll let Valerie and the tenants themselves share with you what those are. But they're extremely high quality, amazing operations, great reputations, and I think are going to be, you know, really wonderful assets for the neighborhood. And I think the last thing to add is that I lost my train of thought. So there might be something else I can add to the conversation later. But essentially, we're as the property, we're packaging this all in a master CUP. And Valerie is helping us, bring that through you all and through the city's process. That these tenants are coming along. I remember the third point is that this is not unusual for a retail development, and it's certainly not unexpected in the current economic environment, but we don't have all of our. So there are a handful of these spaces where we're very close to signing leases with tenants. We believe they're going to be restaurant uses, but we'll have to come back at some point and introduce the remaining restaurants. But to Valerie's earlier point, this is the total, sort of envelope of what we could ask for. The tenants that are here with us this evening can share with you more about their businesses, and then as we identify other tenants that can fill in those spaces, we'll bring those forward as well.
Is there anybody trying to go from a 44 to a 47 license in the future, in your estimation, or the other way around?
But I think that maybe there's two questions. Is somebody, we don't know. Could somebody, I think that's probably the question Valerie could answer. What would it mean for somebody at some point in the future to ask for something that's not already captured in this application? Valerie? Valerie, can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Okay, so what you're asking for is if it's approved for 5 type 41s, beer and wine, and 3 type 47s. And then as it shapes up, one of the 5 41s ends up wanting to turn into a 47. And then all the 3 47s are already spoken for. That's the question that you're asking? Is that correct?
Essentially, yes. Or there might be a space which is not currently set for alcohol, but it might be you get alcohol when one of the other ones drops.
Well, let's see. Again, the idea is, I'm not sure exactly how to answer that because the devil is a little bit in the details. If you have the situation in which there's 5 41s and 3 47s, and that's what's been approved, and then later one of the 41s wants to turn into a 47, they wouldn't be able to do that without either modifying the master or going in for a new CUP separately.
Right.
And then, okay, sorry, I got a text, and the only reason I looked is because I thought it might have been one of the tenants, which it actually was. So anyway, so that's one situation. So the other situation would be if one of the spaces that isn't designated in the site plan. So let's say the site plan that we provided with the application that you guys should all have access to electronically. If one of the spaces that's currently designated as retail decides to be a restaurant instead, I'm not sure if that would be an issue with the city or not, unless we go beyond the 8 that's already being requested.
So you're saying that the gym might not, or probably will never go after a full license for their patrons.
The gym would not be included in any way, shape, or form in this master CUP.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Are we doing specific questions about the alcohol?
What Valerie just introduced. So we're just looking at this as a discussion for the CUP. So we're just here for what is listed
Right.
as an agenda item. So right now we're discussing the shops at Sportsman's Lodge, a master conditional use permit. Okay?
So my question is that is Erewhon, I didn't quite understand if Erewhon is actually selling alcohol in a restaurant type situation. No.
No, they only have
Yes, that
6
would be Erewhon.
seats.
Sorry.
They what?
The big space though.
Erewhon has 6 seats. It's an instructional type of seating. There is no restaurant, sit down type of restaurant. If you look at the plans for Erewhon, there's a bar counter with 6 bar stools for instructional use.
Well, if I could clarify, we could talk about that later, but just so that we don't.
Yeah, what number is that? That is number.
It's the last one, but just very briefly, that's not where the instructional tasting will necessarily take place. Those 6 seats are more like, I got a coffee and a bagel, and I want to sit here and eat the coffee and the bagel. It's not for alcohol. They're just seats.
So you're not.
They won't consume alcohol there. If they have an instructional tasting event that covers that precise area, I suppose it could be used. We can talk about that a little later. But basically, those 6 seats are, I bought a sandwich and I want to eat my sandwich there and a soda. It's not anything for alcohol.
So there is no actual restaurant within the market?
Yes, there is not.
I have a question. It's Dean.
Yeah.
Erewhon typically has an eating area. So if you were to buy a sandwich and want to have a beer and consume it there on premise, is that allowable?
Sandwich, yes. Beer, no.
It's for off-site consumption.
Yeah.
I understand, but someone takes their food to go and sits down outside. How is that policed?
Illegal.
Yes. The alcohol, no.
Okay.
I don't know how much we want to talk about Erewhon now versus.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't talk about it now.
Okay.
So, like I said, we're just here to discuss item by item, whatever is listed on the agenda itself. Now, Ben, is he still with us?
Yep, just had to let some folks in the door. Here we go.
Okay. So, within this discussion, the square footage, is it exact to what was introduced? Have you made any adjustments to the square footage itself?
To the square footage of the shopping center or to the square footage
Correct.
of restaurant
Yeah.
space? Yes, the overall square footage of the shopping center has gotten slightly smaller than what was approved.
Slightly smaller. Okay. So what about the square footage of space that will be occupied by restaurants and so forth? Is that exactly the same, or has it shrunk?
It's actually gotten considerably smaller.
Okay. So did you take, well, I'll get to that when we get to Erewhon again. Hours of operation, number of seats, indoors and outdoors. Anyone else have any questions? Let me take a look and see if anyone has their hands up.
How do you do this, Peter?
Need to be able to get in here.
I raised my hand.
I need to be able to get in here.
Are there any questions for item number 6?
I have no idea how to do it on this.
I think I'm hearing someone talking about having a question. Hold on.
Patrice,
Yes, that's me.
go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I'm just curious, out of the 918 seats that they're requesting for these additional restaurants, how many of those will be serving alcohol and beer, whether it be beer and wine or alcohol?
What?
What?
Excuse me? Who was that? Okay.
It wasn't.
Valerie, did you want to answer that?
Yeah. So you're okay. So basically, what we're requesting is up to 16,191 square feet, and 608 indoor seats, and up to 4,046 square feet of patio dining, and up to 304 patio seats. Those would be, that is the maximum amount of restaurants with alcohol service that could be in here, because that's the maximum requested. It doesn't mean that all of those will be used. It's like, this is to give them the flexibility they need, depending on, there's different spaces within the site plan. Maybe somebody will want to occupy one space is better for whatever their concept is than another space. It's possible that they'll all be filled, but it's also possible that they won't all be used. I mean, that number is less than what was approved, is a lower count than what was approved in prior approvals. Ben can certainly speak more knowledgeably about this. I see we have somebody else who's joining us.
There was only 5 restaurants approved, and the square footage was totally different. My concern is with
Sorry?
900.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question, the comment.
My concern is with 918 restaurant seats, now that you guys have increased the amount of restaurants there, and there's only 446 parking spots, all of the, I mean, the gym could be there at the same time with the restaurants, and then a large market. They could all be there at 6 o'clock at night, and you only have 446 parking spots. So that's our concern, and especially with the new changes to the letter of determination that came out, that Sportsman's no longer has to do the turning lanes, which is going to be a total impact on Coldwater Ventura if all of these restaurants and all the other uses are being used at the same time. It's going to be a nightmare, worse than we had expected to begin with.
Let me answer some of those questions. Let me start by saying that the item we're talking about tonight is CUP for alcohol, and Patrice, appreciate that you're seeing some plans that we haven't looked at together in a long time.
Hello.
I'll say very briefly the number of restaurants based on the last approval, 2014, has gone down. The square footage of restaurant space has gone down. And all other things related to the conditions of approval, we can have another conversation about. But this is the question tonight is, we'd like you to hear about who these users are, who the restaurants are, what sort of operations they have, and it's a question about their request to serve alcohol as has been done at the Sportsman Slides property for the last 60 years.
Well, I think the 918 seats is a big deal with this approval for alcohol at the project.
Okay, well, I guess that my point is that the number of seats and the square footage is part of the approval that again was approved originally in 2014, and it's not. We're all of those things get approved on a tenant by tenant basis as they go through the planning department and the building safety department, so they all get captured at that point. It's a much larger and it's a larger conversation that wasn't noticed in this agenda. Happy to talk to you and anyone else that wants to understand more about it at a different time.
That's right. We're not going back and forth. Thank you. Lana, did you have a question?
I would just like to ask Ben to tell us a little bit more of how the square footage went from a larger size to now a significantly smaller size. Was it because of design or trying to accommodate other folks who had appeared interested in being in the property? Or?
Do I pronounce your name Lana?
It is Lana, yes.
Lana, I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Lana, I'll say very briefly that the overall design of the project, based on some turning movements for trucks and open space, kind of principles that we were bringing to the project, the buildings themselves have gotten slightly smaller, and the uses that we're signing up to leases right now don't always fit into the neat category of retail and restaurant as was approved in 2014. And so all of this has been through, very careful study by planning and Department of Transportation. And I would love to have a much longer and detailed conversation with you and explain to you how that all came to pass.
Well, I understand as time goes by, a lot of shifts are happening in the market and with demand, and of course accommodations have to be made. So I just thank you for sharing that information with us.
Thank you, Lana, and truly would love to catch up with you more whenever, in whatever venue you'd prefer.
Okay, thanks.
And the
So
closing.
Richard, go ahead.
can the closing nights, closing times of the restaurants be staggered so you're not having 8 restaurants full of people under the influence hitting the parking lot at the same time and the streets?
Yes, we will go in and discuss that with each restaurant that's listed on the agenda. We'll request the hours of operation.
But they're all the same.
No, they're not. Really not. So what we're doing here is just defining and specifying as to how these spaces are going to be used by the tenants. Okay, so let's go ahead.
This is kind of a general comment, also with respect to what you're saying. Just as the master CUB is requesting kind of an outside envelope, like a maximum of this number of square footage and maximum of this number of seats, a maximum of this number of restaurants with beer and wine service, blah, blah, blah. The hours are also a maximum, and each additional plan approval, that's also a maximum. So they're requesting the maximum that they think they might use, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they actually are going to be open during the period of time that is being requested. It can't be greater than that, so they're asking for a maximum, but it can certainly be less. I'm going to close the door. I apologize. I've got a phone call.
Thank you.
I have a question for her when she gets back. So Valerie, do you know if there's going to be a zoning administrators hearing on this? And if there is there an estimated time as to when that is?
Well, there will certainly be a ZA hearing on it for sure.
Right.
But we just filed it, so I don't know. It just got, it was just filed pretty recently, and so too early for me to be asking what the timing is for the
Okay.
hearing. I imagine it will probably be, with any luck, it will be this year. So that we have, and if that's the case, then it will probably end up being a phone meeting. So far they've done phone meetings. I don't know if they're gonna change the technology so people can appear by video. I think the video is a little bit better, but yeah, it would be a remote hearing, so you could call in.
All right. Just as long as that is an option here.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Hearing on all of them, so.
Right. Anyone else? Anything else? Because
yes, I'm Micheline Dominique's wife, and we are in Studio City, especially those of us who live near Coldwater and Ventura. We are very, very concerned about what the traffic will be. The traffic is already, fairly heavy, but with a supermarket in addition, it is going to be tremendous what the parking is going to be and the traffic is going to be. And the deliveries, for example, my husband is in the food business and he's very aware of the traffic where trucks come in and block the streets. It's going to be miles of trucks with the supermarket. So that's really, I think, something that you need to consider. It's going to affect our lives in the most unbelievable. We won't be able to get out of our streets.
Right. I'm so sorry to hear that, but we are here just to discuss the agenda item. We're not here talking about noise. We're not here discussing traffic study. We're not here to discuss anything other than what is on the agenda as an item. There will be a hearing sometime in the near future where you will be notified, where you can basically come and state your case. But at this time, this application has been verified by planning and the city. So we are only here discussing the CUP. Having said that, are there any other questions in regard to what is on the agenda?
I wanted just to say a response to Valerie, what Valerie said about applying for the maximum, just in case they want to have that. That seems problematic to me because.
Well, everyone asks for the moon and tries to get that. From 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. is, yes, it's very broad, but once we go into every single restaurant item, we can go ahead and request the hours that we foresee for the neighborhood.
Okay.
This for that restaurant.
And if I could just say, none of the restaurants right now are planning on opening at 6 a.m. If a restaurant does sign on and wants to serve alcohol, then they'll need to apply for a master plan approval like these 5 tenants. And they will have to go before you and explain to you why they want to be open at 6 a.m. And you'll have an opportunity to address it specifically with respect to that specific use. Right now, the only tenant that's planning on using the 6 a.m. that is covered by the CUB is, the master CUB is Air One.
So this is the master conditional use permit application, right? So all the tenants go within this master application, but each tenant will be up for a master approval. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope you get that. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, Lisa, can I make a comment?
Absolutely.
I know that this is, from what I can follow, a discussion a lot about alcohol, that there are over 800 seats for these restaurants. And there's going to be, it sounds like, 8 restaurants that will have some form of alcohol that they're selling. It really is a concern for 8 restaurants to have some form of alcohol that they're selling, because I think it means that the 6 a.m. time is not the problem. It's the 6 and the 7 and the 8 and the 9 p.m. times that are the problem. Because with everybody serving alcohol, unlike Aroma, who does a big lunchtime business because they really, you know, they don't sell alcohol. I mean, it just sounds like you've got a lot of people who are going to be, and more restaurants than honestly I remember there being, kind of selling alcohol, catering to that same dinner business crowd and a market. So it seems like a lot to me for the site as well as for the parking.
I would sort of suggest that having up to 8 restaurants where it's part of a master approval, where you guys can all discuss it all at once, and there will be synergies with the restaurants and the other uses in there. Typically, when you have a shopping center like this is, you don't, sometimes you just go to that one use. You go there, go to that one use, and you leave. But the whole idea of it and the way it typically works is that you would probably patronize multiple things at once. Also, sometimes people like they might want to go to a restaurant, they're not sure which one, so they go, you know, they have various options. In my opinion, I just think that it's much better for you guys to have it all sort of consolidated in this consolidated hearing in one shopping center that is, you know, cohesively designed and cohesively managed with a responsive and well-known landlord versus having, you know, 8 random uses that are all, you know, disparately scattered around Ventura Boulevard. You know, I mean, there is an argument that this is actually, that it might be helpful to have it consolidated, even though it seems like a lot. So
I have to tell you, I really don't agree. I mean, that's in one small space with not a lot of parking, there's all of a sudden a lot of seats all wanting to sell alcohol, which is going to direct itself to that 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. time frame, since most Studio City people are not, you know, throwing them down at noon. And so, you know, and that doesn't mean that no restaurant will be, you know, patronized with people who aren't going at noon and not drinking, but they're setting themselves up to have a lot of activity at a time when there's also high traffic time and there's also high market time. It seems like everything is happening at once with all of these people wanting to sell alcohol.
All right, thank you, Janine.
I have a quick comment.
No, hold on.
Lisa, I have a question.
Dean, hold on. I have Patty Kirby. Go ahead, unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted? I just wanted to bring up that due to the recent events, we're not going to have LAPD coverage like we're used to. So we have to take into account this, the long hours of alcohol use and the many uses in one location that we will not have coverage.
All right, thank you. Dean, go ahead.
I'm just curious, I find it a little unusual. What, by way of example, would you perceive as the application of alcohol starting at 6 a.m. in the morning as necessary here?
That's not going to happen.
That would be for somebody doing grocery shopping at Erewhon at 6 in the morning and picking that up along with their other stuff. I think when we get to Erewhon, I don't know how familiar you are with the use. It's really not the kind of place, it's pretty expensive. It's, it's a high end kind of, it's like a miniature Whole Foods. It's not as large as Whole Foods, but it's kind of similar in the sense that it's just.
I'm familiar with it. With it. Are there hours at 6 a.m.? Do they open at 6
They're
a.m.?
requesting hours from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. When we get to them, Yuval is here from Erewhon and we can discuss that. But it's not like there's going to be winos going in there at 6 o'clock in the morning and buying alcohol. It would be someone who, for whatever reason, wants to do their grocery shopping then. It ain't me, babe. I don't know who does because I'm not a morning person. But there are people that might do that. They might go run that errand before work or something. I'm not sure.
Okay, but isn't that part of the master? Isn't the master going to read 6 a.m.?
Yes, it is.
Right.
So
right.
It may not be limited to just.
Correct.
Erewhon.
But when those other uses come in, they will need a plan approval. And so they will have to come back to you.
Lana, go ahead.
I feel that once our livelihoods return to normal in this area, we do have a lot of sort of unusual schedules. For example, you may have a caterer who needs to go in and purchase items for a private luncheon or something, and they want to go to Erewhon. We're called Studio City for a reason. So with that in mind, I think that it's not unreasonable for a grocery store to have that availability. And in addition, when you look at the number of restaurants that they are available at, say, the Grove or the Farmers Market or other comparable places, yes, they're large spaces, but they have many restaurants that have alcohol licenses. And I believe that under one umbrella of this conditional use, it's going to be more business friendly for the folks who want to come into our community and do business here. And I think the easier we can make it and the better relationships hopefully we can establish with the businesses. And I feel assured that we will attract lovely clientele who will be well-mannered with the prices that they're going to ask at some of these places. I think it'll be okay.
Competition is good.
Go ahead. All right.
Terry Austin, go ahead.
What I'm thinking of is another big project like the Universal City Walk. When that was being proposed, and I was here then, we were told that it would be very upscale and it would all be very well handled and be just a big bonus to the community. And in fact, we didn't get those high-end restaurants at all. And it's not well regulated, and it's turned into somewhere that I never go anymore. So my feeling is that to allow this many restaurants that sell alcohol with a maximum amount and then just hoping that you don't have any problems is not a way to plan something. That you can't plan on the best possible scenario. I think it's too many alcohol serving places as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Peter Cole?
Hi there.
Hi.
Question about how this relates to the Project Room Key. Project Room Key, I have not heard yet that they have a way to guarantee that all of their occupants will not be living in the area once Room Key is over. So you're going to have most likely you're going to have a larger percentage of homeless people, and maybe some with mental illness or drug or alcohol issues that may be bothering patrons at the new establishment. I don't know if it's really a good idea to have so many restaurants serving alcohol with that clientele hanging around.
Okay,
It's an
well,
unknown.
Project Room Key is not on the agenda.
Well, alcohol is on the agenda, and that's a concern
It is, but
about the patrons.
we are set to open when? Ben, when is the shopping center set
That
to?
doesn't matter. These people will still be in the
I'm
neighborhood.
asking a question. Please don't back and forth with me. I'm asking the question. When is this set to open?
We think we should be ready to open by April.
April. Okay. When does your contract with Project Room Key expire?
December. I think we can notice in November where we're planning on ending the program in December.
How do you guarantee that those people will no longer be in the area?
Is that a rhetorical question?
You don't
That's
have
not
to
for him to answer. That's not
No.
his responsibility to run people off.
Could I, if I could opine, I don't know if you guys have a copy of this site plan.
We do.
Okay, but basically, this isn't a whole bunch of, it's mostly not, there is a frontage on Ventura, but you mostly have to enter into it. And it's kind of all oriented towards this inner landscaped garden areas. And there's there are going to be security, and there's going to be people staffing it. And it's not going to be the kind of place where it's going to be, you know, like you don't go into the Grove, for example, and see a lot of, you know, homeless people sitting there in the middle of this kind of, you know, Caruso Center with a bag and, you know, chowing down. I mean, it's just not.
The Grove never hosted 400 homeless people.
Okay. I earlier was having a discussion with our president, Randy Freed, where he had taken a look at the application, and his comments to me were very astute. So I would like to invite him to come on and share some of his thoughts with me, please, and everyone present. Randy?
Hi, hello, hi. What an intro, Lisa. Now the pressure's on. Hi everyone, nice to see you. Nice to chime in. Just really, it's two things, and Valerie or Ben, you can comment to this. But I want to be clear what we're talking about, and I think for stakeholders it's important too. One is a master plan which truthfully gives a developer maximum flexibility in terms of tenants and then future tenants potentially, right? If one tenant falls out, that what they may or may not be looking at. I think the devil in the details as it relates to concerns of stakeholders in terms of excessive sales of alcohol, et cetera. I think that really then comes down to the individual store or business that's looking to operate. And when we consider that, we can see what are the hours that they're proposing? What is the reputation of that business? Do they have other locations? If they do have other, for example, the Draycott, owners of the Draycott, as I understand correct, is one of the restaurants who has a restaurant. They have one, I believe, in Palisades Village, correct? Caruso property. They have another one, I think, is it West Hollywood, an Italian restaurant. we can, so for operators who have more than one location, we can look to alcohol beverage control and see what is their track record in other locations. And I think that personally, I think that that's where we need to look at and weigh in on each individual business. Because perhaps there are going to be businesses that we might want to say, and I don't know, because we haven't got that far yet, but there may be a business that we say, you know what, based on business X's track record, we want to either tighten their hours that they're asking for, et cetera. But the question for the master plan, in my opinion, is about, do we trust the developer and giving the developer maximum flexibility when they then go to shop around for tenants? Would you, Valerie, Ben, any thoughts to what I'm saying?
No,
my assessment?
And that also a similar comment that I wanted to follow up with what Lana was saying earlier. Basically, what we have now is we have four, all 5 operators, the 4 restaurants in Erewhon are all, they're kind of the best of both worlds in the sense that they're all upscale places. They are all locally owned and managed places that have nonetheless various different locations, so that they have the track record, they have the experience, they have the training, they know how to run a business, they know how to run a restaurant, they know how to manage these products. And that covers basically all of these uses. And so I think that to some degree, you can look at what Ben Besley has picked here. And he's not picking, he's not picking major chains. He's not picking untried operations. He's not picking, he's not picking uses that are really rowdy. Every single one of these uses, the alcohol is actually a small percentage of the gross receipts. Even Erewhon, I got a text from Yuval during this that it's about, beer and wine is about 4% of their gross sales. So, and I know that for all of the restaurants that you have before you this evening, these guys are all restaurants. And restaurants, it's like they're about the food, and the alcohol is just something that will go along with it. It's really not, they're really food-focused places with a small percentage of gross receipts, and people like to be able to enjoy these items when they eat out. All very reputable operators. So hopefully,
I have to agree. When I go to Sugarfish, I'm not going there to sit down and have 6 bottles of sake. I'm just going there for the food, and I might order a bottle of sake with my husband to just complement the dinner. So to that, I think we should go to a vote. All right, well. Did you have anything else, Randy?
No, I mean, I would just say that I looked at the stamped plans from 2014. It seems to me that there isn't necessarily, I didn't see anything this, and I'll admit that I'm not the most versed in land use, but it didn't seem to me that there was anything suddenly new here, at least at what's been agendized. And again, I'll just emphasize that I think that the 2 questions are for stakeholders and weighing in, or for even committee members voting, is, do you want to approve and go with giving maximum flexibility to a landlord because you trust this development company and give them maximum flexibility to get maximum dollars and maximum, in theory, the best of the best tenants? That's question 1. That's the first vote I think we're coming to. And then on top of it, then it'll be specifically to who are the tenants, are they responsible, are they dealing with issues of alcohol, et cetera, responsibly. I mean, I think that's the bifurcation, but go ahead, Lisa.
Can I add one comment to that? In terms of the maximum, we're not asking to be open until 2 o'clock in the morning. So they sort of self-regulated, that's too late. They said the maximum is 1 a.m. They didn't ask for more type 47s. They only asked for up to 3 type 47s. The rest of them are type 41s. So, I mean, I've definitely managed, seen, been involved with, presented masters where it was a much higher percentage with much higher percentage of 47s, more intensive uses, later hours. So, I think that in fairness to Ben and his team, I think that they're being very conscious of who they're picking. You know, you can't make everybody happy. I'm sure, like, yeah, of course there will be impacts. On the other hand, I think there's a lot of really great positives to it. And, you know, I guess that's just for you guys to balance out how you feel about that.
Yeah,
I would like to know, if I may, how do we ask to speak? Because we have been raising our hand for like about 5-10 minutes and we haven't been given the floor. So how does that happen? We're not used to this. So.
But Dominic, since you already spoke, you only get one or maybe even two chances, but that's about it. You've already spoken, your wife spoke.
I see, okay, I didn't know that.
I'd like to move on, please. So thank you. Anyone else who has not spoken? Richard.
Yeah, I think one of our primary jobs is dealing with parking and traffic, and I think they've satisfied the community's requirements as far as those two things are concerned. The alcohol is more of a frivolous thing as far as we're not dealing with morality of alcohol. We're not allowed to. I think we're focusing on parking and traffic, and I think we've done that.
Let's go ahead and move it.
But I didn't. So if I could be given a minute, I would appreciate it.
Go ahead, Dominic.
One concern that I have, and I raised that like a few months ago or last year with Mr. Beasley, was the delivery dock, which I think is too small. I pass in front of it every day. And now with a market in the facility, I think it'll be even worse. The consequences of this is it's going to be impacting the flow of traffic on Coldwater Canyon, and we can expect to have lines of trucks waiting to enter the dock area because everybody tends to deliver in the morning early, especially for markets such as Erewhon. And I speak of experience because I'm Erewhon. We supply them with some products, and it is difficult, and the limited dock is
That's 1 minute.
With all due respect, sir, again, we are only here to discuss the CUB, not the delivery dock, not delivery time. So we are
the
only
gentleman
here.
earlier was speaking about traffic, and that's a part of traffic.
There will be a hearing on this, so when that date is announced, you can go ahead and express your concerns then. But right now, we are trying to get through CUB. That is the item on the agenda for tonight. So with all due respect to everyone else, I think we should move into a motion. Did you want to introduce one, Richard? Jesse? Anyone?
Yeah.
Yeah? Go ahead.
I move that the Studio City Chamber of Commerce approve the applicant's proposal as introduced on the official city paperwork.
Friendly amendment to change the Chamber of Commerce to the Studio City Neighborhood Council.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving this a single thought here.
Just approve the applicant's
Right, I know.
presented, as presented.
As presented, I know, I'm just thinking about the hours.
I have a question, Lisa, on hours. I have a question. The master plan supersedes any of these other applications, tenant by tenant, as presented?
No, we're gonna go tenant by tenant and work on.
I understand, but the master plan supersedes all these other tenant applications.
Yes.
Does it not?
Yes and no. Can I speak?
Yes.
Well, my point is.
Hold on, Dean. Valerie wants to answer.
Yeah, I mean, The master provides the envelope, the maximum, but each of the plan approvals will set their own conditions. The conditions cannot exceed what is granted in the master. So it's actually kind of the opposite with respect to the ones that have plan approvals. And bear in mind, anything else that comes in that wants to serve or sell alcohol, they will need to get a plan approval. So you will have a bite at the apple then. If there's anybody that comes in, like somebody wants to come in, if somebody wants to come in and they want to have hours till 2 o'clock in the morning and live music and dancing, they're not going to be covered by the MCUB. They're going to need to go get their own conditional use permit, and you guys can, do your thing. But I don't think that is what the concept is, because if Ben wanted that, then Ben would have had us ask for 2 a.m., but he didn't. So.
Of those restaurants, are there breakfast restaurants, or there's some that are all of them serving a morning time meal, or are they just opening at 10 and preparing for a lunch and dinner sort of situation?
Historically, none of these restaurants open for breakfast.
Correct.
The only tenant that would open at 6 a.m. would be Erewhon Supermarket.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Richard, did you want to repeat your motion? I'm sorry, I wasn't fast enough.
I move that we accept and forward the applicant's proposal on the official paperwork generated by the city.
I need a second.
A second.
Thank you. All right, let's go in and take a vote. All in favor? All in support?
Aye.
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 Yeah. All opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
I just need to write my notes for 1 second. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Ben. Are you staying, Ben? Valerie is. Unmute.
Thank you very much again. And yes, I'm going to stay on as long as I can. I've got some obligations that'll probably start in about 45 minutes. So.
Okay.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to move through the other ones a little more quickly, because I think we've covered a lot of ground, kind of familiarized everybody with the lay of the land. So, and I think you'll be pleased when we get into the individual tenants. So.
All right, thank you. Next, number 7 item on the agenda, presentation, discussion, and possible motion. Takaya Organica Restaurant, a master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of a full line of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption in conjunction with a new restaurant with 162 indoor seats within 3,218 square feet of indoor service area over 2 floors and 108 outdoor seats on a 1,315 square foot uncovered outdoor patio with hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily in the commercial 1 zone, 1.5 rather, 1VL-Rio zone. Case number PAR 2020-112 CUB. DIR-2014-886 SPPA ordinance number 183,145 at the address of 12833-12835 Ventura Boulevard, 4218-4230 Coldwater Canyon, Unit 360, Studio City, California, 91604. Valerie Sachs representing. Go ahead, Valerie.
So again, similar comment that this is, the case number is actually ZA 2020.
Hang on. ZA 2020?
4954.
I'm sorry, say that again.
4954.
4954.
MPA.
MPA, okay.
and ENV 2020 4955 CE.
Okay. All right, go ahead and with your presentation, please, Valerie.
My dog is staring at me fixedly. I want to leave the room. She has this laser vision. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna pop her out of the way. She couldn't from me. Let's go, Lucy.
Ben, did you want to start talking about Takaya? You have to unmute yourself first.
No, it only takes me a second. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, okay, so hi. I have with me Jillian O'Connor. She's with Takaya Organica. She's over there on my screen. So she's available to answer any questions that you might have related to the use. I don't know if you got the menu that that I circulated that wasn't part of the initial filing packet, but I sent them to Lisa late last week.
How many locations are there?
Yeah, there was noticed a mistake on the first page of the findings. There's actually 13 right now. Is that correct, Jillian?
Jillian, unmute yourself.
You're muted. You need to unmute.
Sorry.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
You have 13.
Yes, we have 13 open restaurants.
Hang on.
Right now.
Jillian is.
She's with Takaya Organica.
Okay.
I think we have 13. They have 13 right now in Southern California and 3 in Arizona. So this will be the 14th in Southern California. And as I was saying before, this is a locally owned and operated place. The first location was it in West Hollywood or Venice? I think it was in Venice. And yeah, 4 years ago. So they've been expanding their brand. So this is, I think this is their typical of what we're seeing here from Ben. Is it's a locally owned and operated place. They're expanding rapidly. They have the experience, the wherewithal, the staffing, the procedures in place to make sure that they know how to run their restaurants. So basically first off, initially the space that was planned for Takaya has the number of seats that Lisa announced earlier. Lisa, well, sorry, the screen you moved around, so I wasn't looking in the same place. So actually, it's actually not going to be as many seats as this, and it's not going to be as much square footage because they're basically modifying the plans, and the footprint, the physical footprint will be the same, but the mezzanine at this point, and Jillian, you could chime in if there's any possibility of it going back up and you using it.
So is it still unit 360?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going from 162 indoor seats to how many?
I think that we are ending up with almost like 100.
100 indoor seats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how about outdoor?
Total.
So indoor and outdoor, 100 seats.
Yeah.
So they're working on their plans. So basically the way it works for these is, again, there's the maximum, and for these approvals, you can go less than. So we filed it knowing that at the time we filed it that they were planning on making a downward adjustment in terms of the size of the restaurant.
Okay.
They have draft plans now. I'm not sure. Basically, I don't want to get a resolution this evening that locks them into 100 seats because I don't think it's yet set in stone. But maybe we could pick like a new maximum or whatever. But it's going to be smaller. So that. Jillian, speak.
Yes. So we actually were going to do a mezzanine and be much larger, but just given how the building interacts with Ventura Boulevard, it just wasn't in the cards.
Okay.
So we are decreasing a lot of our size, and we're really focusing on, given the current state of things, on takeout and facilitating really like a safe place for people to come in, not have it crowded. So that's really our focus right now moving forward.
So would you say that
I can give you guys a little bit of background. Oh,
sure.
Just a
Sorry,
question,
there's a
though,
lag.
real
Go
quick.
ahead.
Are all your other restaurants, your 13 other locations, of full line alcoholic beverage serving establishments? Are they all serving full line of alcohol?
No, we don't have all of them serving full line. All of our Arizona locations do. We have a handful of locations in Southern California that do. We typically like to go in with beer and wine, see how the community really interact with alcohol, and see if it would benefit us and the community to go to a full line license. So we kind of just gauge that. Alcohol is a very small percentage of our sales as well. We only serve a very small selection of beer, wine, and margaritas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a full bar or anything like that. It's just, yeah, beer, wine, and margaritas is to kind of go with the overall thing. Jillian, were you able to find out what the percentage was?
I wasn't. They estimated it's below 10%, and that really varies across the board. Our West Hollywood location has a lot higher alcohol sales, but some locations we have hardly any. So it just depends on the community. But overall, it's pretty low.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you in the Pacific Palisades Caruso build out? Are you located there? No? Okay. I'm just trying to gauge where your locations are.
Just to clarify some wording that was just mentioned, if I may.
Yeah.
I think the phrase was just used, there's not a full bar, but there, to be clear, there is dispersal of liquor. Is that correct? Spirits? It would be a full bar license.
This is a full line license. It's not a bar license. A bar license is like a.
Pardon me. Yes, sorry. A full alcoholic sale license.
Yes, but they won't have. Okay, a lot of restaurants you'll go to, and there is like a bar area, and there is a bartender, and so forth. That's not how this is set up. So although they would have it, it's not, and you can't just order. It's a limited menu of what you'd actually be able to. Every so often something moves and then everybody shifts around. I understand, so I'm kind of looking at you, which is meaningless, I guess.
So I guess what we would be able to compare to Tender Greens on the corner of Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. They serve beer and they serve wine, but you're not going there to just specifically have beer and wine. And we could request that they serve alcohol with food only. So
Tender Greens doesn't serve spirits. There's
beer and wine only.
Right, exactly. Whereas Tokai Organica would serve margaritas presumably made from tequila, not from soju or something.
Correct.
Low
Yeah, but it wouldn't be something where you could have, a vodka or a brandy or it's not one of these places where you could go and you're like, I feel like a mojito. They're unless that's specifically on their menu. So it's not, it would be a type 47 license where that would be a possibility, but just conceptually, when you're picturing them, it's not something, it's really not a place where you would go to drink. You would mostly go there, to have food, and you might want to have a margarita or a beer or wine while you're,
Is there a physical bar with bar seating?
No. We've eliminated that in this concept. And to talk to your point, we do serve margaritas with a soju, but we do that in our beer and wine location. So margarita is kind of
your audio isn't fabulous, Jillian.
Pretty important to our brand, just because we are. Oh, sorry, am I cutting out?
Yes, you're freezing.
Okay,
too.
well, doesn't matter.
No, it does actually.
Go. Okay.
Lisa,
I'm not sure if that's a little better.
I've got to start winding some little people down. I'm gonna text me. Lisa, please text me, or somebody please text me if anything comes up that I can answer on my phone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
Lisa, I have a question or a comment.
Go ahead, Dean.
And Takai has a wonderful operation. Organics are in their infancy and probably has a wonderful runway ahead of them. But we're in changing times. This is what they are today, but what can they become with a full 47 license, changing concepts, evolving over time? These are the questions that perhaps we should be asking ourselves when we're only serving margaritas, but we're perhaps approving a full 47.
But to be able to serve margaritas, you need the 47.
There's no in
I
between.
understand, I understand, but the presentation is wine and beer and margarita, and a small portion of our sales is alcohol. However, if and when they want to become something greater than, the runway is clearly paved.
Well, what would, in your mind, Dean, be that timeline for them after the expense of bringing this new facility here? What in your thoughts would be the timeline that they may change it in 5 years? Or
it's unknown. Restaurants come and go. They evolve. They change for better. I'm not saying it's worse. They change, for better reasons, not negative reasons. Sometimes they could be bought out by some other corporation that has.
That's why we have conditional use permits.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think, the problem is we can't really, I can't answer a question based upon a hypothetical future tenant or a hypothetical future operation. It's kind of like, this is what is before you. Yeah.
Well, but they do not have 47s in other locations. I understand.
Some do, some
Yes.
don't. But that's why
it's cost prohibitive for a new restaurant to get that in our case.
Jillian, can you check your phone? Thank you.
she actually was coming in clear at that time. Do I have any?
No, that's not what I meant.
I have a question, just a sort of point of order, really, which might speak to what Dean's talking about, but on their application, it's actually confused because it says in the beginning of the application, it says for beer and wine only, and then as you go down, it says for a full line. So I just thought that was odd.
Oh, because that was my mistake, and I guess I didn't catch everything. It was originally, there was some confusion because my understanding when I was putting together the application was that they were just going for a 41 at this location. But it was I misunderstood. So, but basically, like, I got the clarification and everything was almost ready to go. This was a beast to get together with making everything consistent. So I submitted it and then I fixed it later. And so I apologize if not everything got fixed along the way. But they're going in but they want approval for a Tech 47.
Okay, and their proposed hours of operation is 9 a.m. till midnight. Correct?
What do we have here?
And I would like to
know.
know.
You know what? As much effort as I made to make everything match up, I see that it still doesn't. So I think hopefully Jillian can clarify. So in one space it says 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily. In another space it says 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Wednesday, and then till 1 a.m. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I will have to clarify that with the planner, but Jillian.
I mean, as we discussed earlier, we would always like to ask for the maximum, but just so everyone feels comfortable, our typical operations are from 11 to 11. But again, we have to gauge what's best for the community. Maybe we don't have those hours quite as late, or maybe we go a little bit later. But typically 11 to 11, but we would like to ask for 9 a.m. to 1 a.m.
And what would be the 9 a.m. start time? What is the reasoning behind that if you're not serving breakfast?
So we've actually talked internally about serving breakfast. It's an initiative that Takaya would like to do in the future. We just haven't been able to roll it out necessarily across the board, but it's been in the works. So we kind of would love to have that option open to serve breakfast if possible.
I can see it kind of making sense here in relation to the adjacency to the hotel. I don't know. I mean, I can imagine people from the hotel, you know, wandering over there and wanting to have a leisurely breakfast.
Maybe a mimosa.
Yeah.
Bloody Mary.
No Bloody Marys. No full bar. I mean, it's full license, but it wouldn't be a full bar. So,
Jesse, did you have a question?
No, not really. I don't. You know, it doesn't seem to me that there are a huge number of really high-end places in Studio City right now doing breakfast. That's an interesting angle. No, nothing further. My question was just about the wording, just clarifying that it would be a full liquor license. But it's interesting to hear that there won't be a physical bar with seats. So this is not a place to go for tequila and mezcal tasting, where you line them up side by side.
No, sadly.
Adele, any other questions?
No.
Lana?
No questions, just a comment in keeping with a lot of the other places that have had approvals. Generally, those hours are a little bit different, a little later in the morning and finishing a little earlier in the evening.
I mean,
even on the weekends?
Sure, yeah, like Sunday, 11 a.m. Sunday through Thursdays, like 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. and then Friday, Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. sort of schedules. But I see how that might complicate things if you've got convention folks coming in that want to start early, or wedding parties or something like that.
Right.
You know, it's a very. Go ahead.
Richard, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Dean?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Valerie, when are you going to make the correct changes to this application? When are these corrections going to take effect?
Well, the hours I'll email the planner. I can email him later this week just to clarify that, or next week. I can CC you in the email if you like. As far as the reduction in square footage, what happened was I had initially thought we were going to submit the revised plans, but when I spoke to the planner, they basically said that because it was below the envelope, it was lesser than, that we didn't actually need to do that. So we could just use those plans and have those approved, but then when we had the final, obviously when they were going in for their tenant improvements and so forth, they would present the plans that they're actually using. And I guess one concept in that regard is this: if they make the investment to build out the space and they're not using the mezzanine for anything but like equipment, and they don't have the doors and the exiting and so forth for the patio to be, they've removed that from Ventura Boulevard, so now it's only going to be something that's within the shopping center. Once they've done that and have established the smaller footprint, it would be, to kind of undo that and to rebuild it.
Go ahead.
It would be unlikely that, even a future operator, it would be a pretty big undertaking to kind of undo that once it's already been built that way. So as opposed to just taking one of the bigger spaces, like the space that may go to Draycott, I guess you're aware, I'm not sure what the status of that is, as opposed to just taking a bigger space like that.
Okay, so my concern more so is the correct information on your application that we're going to be voting.
That it's a full line, hours requested are 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily.
Can I just say something about that, Lisa?
Yeah, go ahead.
So my issue is I want to know when I vote for something, I want to know what I'm voting for. I don't want to say, oh, I'm voting for the maximum. And then they get to decide whatever they want. And if they only want 100 seats, you know, it seems like not good planning to me. Well, and so, I mean, I would like them to be realistic and ask for what they want and what they need and what they think they can do. And then we can decide if that's what we want. But if you're just saying, oh, we want 300 seats, but we're really going to do 100. I mean, it sounds nuts to me.
Yeah, no, well, I understand that that the original size proposed might be concerning to you, and that you're probably not comfortable with the smaller size.
Yeah.
So.
But then you're saying, let's just go ahead and vote on the bigger
What you're saying is you would like to have something more concrete so that you know that you can trust that it's going to be the smaller size.
I would like to have you ask for what you think you want and think you need and be accurate so that we could vote on it and make a determination, not like based on, oh no, we might have like 700 seats. You know, I mean, it's just like, we might have 300 seats there, but we really only want 100 seats. And
it wouldn't go up. It wouldn't go up. But if you're not comfortable with, yeah, it wouldn't go up. It would only go down. But
we're advisory only, by the way.
What's that? What did you say, Richard?
Just reminding her that we are advisory only. No matter what we say, they can do what they want downtown.
Well,
I understand, but I'm voting on something, and if
they can regulate it, they can restrict it even more than we restrict it. But if they feel it's a problem.
If as an advisor, I advise you to ask for what you want, so that I can make a measured, intelligent adult decision. That's how I operate. I don't operate the other way, particularly.
Lisa?
Yes.
Is this, I'm sorry, I'm rejoining this conversation. Is this specific to one user, or are we talking about the overall application?
Yes, we're still on Takaya.
Okay,
So I want to know the specific numbers that need to be straightened out on this application so that we know exactly what we are voting for.
If I can add, I just want to add one detail to address Adele's concern, which is that these applications take a long time to put together. So there are, changes are sort of inherent in this. And I'll let Valerie kind of work out the details of how we would move forward on this. But if we have an updated plan for Takaya, we can, again, Valerie, I'll let you work out the kind of process.
I mean, I kind of want to have like a little sidebar with Jillian, but I'm not sure how to do it in this venue. Part of the thing was because of, never mind, that was.
Lana, go ahead.
So the application you have needs some corrections, correct? Is that right? We need to get that.
I mean, I think because of COVID, there was a period when they weren't sure whether they were going to go through or not. And then they, so they kind of paused it and then they restarted it. But we wanted to make sure that we got them in with this other group.
Sure. And there's wording, that can be used in a motion for seats up to a certain number. That's not a, a big thing, I don't think. However, getting your application as accurate as you can, whatever it is that's missing there, Lisa, I don't know what that turnaround time would be to get it corrected on the application, but I think that would just be a great starting point. I don't know if we need to table this. I realize that these applications take a long time, but if it's not reflecting the accurate thing that you need, you'd probably be doing it again anyway. So
I propose that we table this and revisit this for next month with the proper information in the right places that need to be discussed and voted on.
I second.
Great. So we're going to go ahead and table this, Valerie. Jillian, I'm really sorry, but we need to have the accurate information on the application to be able to have the right information to convey.
Okay, I guess I'm just a little confused because I noticed, I guess, yes, the hours are a little bit different in each scenario, but I'm a little confused why there would be pushback when we're creating a smaller footprint and we're asking for the same
That
hours
has
that we
nothing to
asked.
do with it, Jillian. I'm sorry. That doesn't have anything to do with it. It's the inaccuracy on the form that needs to be corrected.
Well, it's not exactly. So this is why I'm kind of hesitating, because I'm not exactly sure. Basically, our planner said that we didn't that we didn't need to reduce the plans with the smaller space because if you're going below, you're not actually required to do that. But
it's not that.
Well, I wish they would have joined us on this meeting.
Hmm?
I wish they would have joined us in this meeting.
Can I say something just also to you, Jillian? Your restaurant looks amazing. It has nothing to do with your restaurant. Your restaurant's fantastic. You have to get clear and you have to be accurate. If you're going to ask us to vote and approve of something, we can't just go vote and then say, oh, well, no, we're not going to do 100, or, oh, yes, it's not responsible.
Well, the application says beer and wine, but it's really full.
Well, no.
Wine.
What you got was type 47. I don't know where was it that it said beer and wine still?
Right.
In the application, in the first.
In the master.
Department of City planning application, proposed use, restaurant with beer and wine service.
There it is.
On the first page.
Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, that's my fault. I apologize.
I will put this on the agenda for
next month.
Oh, I did update that.
October.
Thought I actually did update that.
Well, the motion is tabled now. Are we moving on?
We made a motion to table it. Can I call for a vote?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Dean said yes.
Great.
Yes.
Moving on. Thank you.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda. Number 8, presentation, discussion, and possible motion to Pasta Uovo restaurant, a master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction with a new 1,650 square foot restaurant with 40 indoor seats and 20 outdoor seats on a 276 square foot patio. Having the hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily in the C1.5-1VL-Rio zone. Case number PAR 2020-112 CUB. DIR 2016-1896-DI-A. Address 12833, 12835 Ventura Boulevard. 4218-4230 Coldwater Canyon Avenue, unit number 340, Studio City, California 91604. Go ahead, Valerie.
Okay, so this one also, different case numbers, EA 2020 4950 MPA. Okay, and then the categorical exemption is ENV 2020-4951 CE. hang on a sec. I'm sorry. So, hi everybody. So I have with me Anthony. Are you still here?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. You moved. Everybody moves around. Okay. So this is one of 3 concepts that are all brought to you by the people that brought you sugarfish. So there will be a sugarfish. This is a more recent concept, and the idea is pasta, literally like you get in Italy. They shift the pasta over, right? It's, you know, formulated in conjunction, in collaboration with, you know, these amazing chefs that are in Emilia-Romagna, Bologna, right? Yeah. I've traveled a lot in Italy, so I'm kind of familiar with the area. So basically, this is an Italian restaurant with a limited, like Sugarfish, it's got a limited menu. Extremely high quality ingredients, very, very conscious of how those ingredients are prepared, how, you know, all that. And the ability to serve beer and wine with the restaurant is just, you know, when you're having a meal like this, you're having an Italian meal with your friends, it's just a very natural accompaniment to the meal. So that's the request, is for a Type 41 to be able to serve beer and wine at this restaurant. So it's, you know, a pretty small space. This is, which suite number this is? Suite 340?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, there's kind of this countertop area. There's a little bit of an outdoor patio area for outdoor dining. Small number of seats, small restaurant, and the hours of operation they requested are, sorry, it's a little bit challenging to switch gears to so many in one night, especially I'm not really used to the Zoom calls.
9 to 1.
Huh?
Says 9 to
This
1.
one is, I think, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily.
9 to 1.
Is it? It's
9 to 1. It's close.
Here we go. Sorry, I thought I had this one pulled out. It's here somewhere in the pile. My pile is getting messier and messier as the evening proceeds. Anthony, feel free to speak up.
I think everyone's saying it's 9 to 1, it sounds like.
Is that what you want?
Which sounds about right, but
So
10 to
Anthony,
1 is.
why don't you go ahead and tell us about your restaurant? How many do you have?
Sure. For Pasta Uovo, this would be our 3rd location. So we have one in Santa Monica and we have one in Mid-Wilshire. So this would be the 3rd. Like Valerie's saying, it's all about the food. It's just like Sugarfish, all about the pasta. It's Roman style pasta. We have a kitchen in Bologna, Italy, where we make the pasta and ship it over. So it's fairly unique. It's not about the alcohol for us. That's just ancillary. Our alcohol percentages are roughly less than 10%, and that's across all of our companies. You don't go to these restaurants to sit at a bar and have a drink, right? It's all about the food, and then if you want a glass of wine, then you can have a glass of wine. So that's kind of it in a nutshell for Pasta Uovo. But I can also speak on behalf of the other 2 restaurants. I don't know if we want to.
We're doing them one at a time. Yeah, we're doing them one at a time. I mean, I just don't think, you know, that's just having wine with food like this is just very much a part of the dining experience when you're having this, you know, this kind of quality of Italian food.
How big is the menu?
You should have it. It's again, it's a limited menu.
Yeah, it's roughly 12 to 15 items or so.
Nice.
Very simple.
And, you know, just a curated, you know, beer and wine. It's not, you know, an endless menu, but it's just, you know, carefully selected, curated wines that it looks like they're all Italian, that, you know, are selected to accompany the food. They put a tremendous amount of thought in their menu and all aspects of it. And I think it shows in the success of their various concepts.
Are there any questions?
Is there a physical bar with bar seating?
We have, it's a counter. So it's a counter that wraps around the kitchen. So you actually see the cooks doing their thing. So they'll plate everything and give it to you right then and there. It's not a bar counter like bartender, basically. It's a food service counter. So kids can sit there and have a meal.
Yeah, and I don't know how this compares to Sugarfish or what your experience has been here, but look, it's a small space. There's not a huge amount of seating. It's not the kind of place where you're going to go and drink a whole bunch of wine and not have food with it. It's just not. Anyway.
If you look at the restaurant in Santa Monica, it's quite cute. It's very adorable, and it has, it just has what he described.
Yeah, it gets a bit tight in there.
It looks, yeah.
You'll be
serving
lunch. Oh.
Yeah, just a quick question. I was just curious why you would want to be in this neighborhood, considering Sportsman's Lodge has brought in about up to, I hear, 400 homeless people in Project Room Key that may not leave, that may affect your bottom. So I'm just curious. You know what, Lisa, I'm allowed to speak, and you're out of line.
But we are not discussing Project Room Key. We are just
talking about, I'm just asking a question why they'd want to be here.
At a high level, we have another business in Studio City, and we've done very well there. And so we're just excited to be at this location.
Thank you.
Yep.
Also, point of order on your application, it says 10-1. It doesn't say 9-1.
Okay.
Should we make a friendly amendment in this motion, Lisa, to reflect
Which
10-1?
which do you want on there?
10-1 is totally fine.
10-1 is fine. Okay. So
I'll go ahead and change that on the agenda.
Curious.
Interesting when there's already a Sugarfish in Studio City.
What is your kitchen in Bologna? I have a very good friend from Bologna.
Where is it? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, in Bologna.
Oh, that's a great question. I wish I knew exactly where, but it's just a small commissary kitchen out there.
Okay.
And
Just
unfortunately, I haven't been able to visit. So
it's all right. I'm very happy to share information about this restaurant with.
Great.
So I have another question about the hours. Are we going to try to have all these 8 different restaurants with staggered end hours so we don't have, so there's a flow of traffic and not people, coming out on the streets with alcohol? I mean, not that they're going to drink a lot here. I know Sugarfish very well, but are you going to have them all open the same hours, or that's a question. I just don't know.
Well, Adele, I think that's up to the restaurant. Some of them close their kitchens at 11 o'clock so they can wrap out, right? So that's a question individually, I think, for each.
But if we don't regulate that, they can do, if we don't say, I mean, that's my question.
this is a 1650 square foot restaurant with 40 indoor seats and 20 outdoor seats. The alcohol is going to be the beer and wine is going to be a small percentage of gross receipts. They can't, we can't have something where one restaurant sacrifices itself to close earlier than it makes sense for them to do as a business because another restaurant wants to be open later. I mean, it's just not workable to do it that way.
Make their own decision.
Yeah, but they're going to kind of, their hours are going to be reflected within the limits that are, set forth here. And it might be limited further based upon how their operations shape up. So if they find that, that it's really dead after 11 o'clock, then they're probably going to start closing at 11, but they don't know now, and they need to sort of see how things shape up. You're not going to have a whole bunch of drunk people all exiting at once. And even if it closes at 1, it doesn't mean everybody is there until 1 o'clock and then they all march to their cars. I mean, it's just, that's just not really, that's not how it works. And
that wasn't my question though.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Do we have any other questions? And if not, I want to introduce a motion. Any other questions? Let me just check very quickly. Richard, do you want to introduce a motion?
I move that the Steve's Neighborhood Council approves the applicant's proposal as written and as filed with the City of LA.
Proposal as filed. With the hours of,
10 a.m.
I'm changing it from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Unanimous vote. Motion passes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna have fun organizing this later. Putting it all back in. So next we have
Hi-ho. Presentation, discussion, and possible motion. Hi-ho Restaurant, a master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction with a new 1,300 square foot restaurant with 51 indoor seats and 24 outdoor seats on a 266 square foot patio, having the hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily in the commercial 1.5-1BL-Rio zone, case number PAR 2020-112-CUB, DIR 2016-1896-DI-1A, address 12833-12835 Ventura Boulevard, 4218-4230 Coldwater Canyon Avenue, Unit 420, Studio City, California 91604. Go ahead, Valerie.
so the case number here is ZA 2020-4952 MPA. And ENV 2020-4953 CE. You know, I was actually having trouble editing the PDFs for some reason, and I wonder why if that's the reason why there's these discrepancies. Anyway, I apologize. I see there is the same thing. 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. on the application, and then if you go into that, special instructions for alcohol, it says 10 to 1 daily. So again, up to Anthony, which one you actually want. But basically, this is also brought to you by the same people as Sugarfish. This is, in this case, it's a hamburger themed restaurant that, again, is sourcing the highest quality ingredients with they're kind of unusual and with a lot of thought, not the way you normally get your beef, not the usual beef purveyors, and just paying an enormous amount of attention to how it's prepared, and just the whole basically the ingredients and the preparation at a level that based on a fairly simplified menu, again, like Sugarfish, really high quality ingredients, really thoughtfully sourced, prepared, with the highest standards, but a simplified menu, so it's fairly streamlined and affordable in light of the quality of the food. So in this case, it is they are asking for 1370 square foot restaurant with 51 indoor seats and 24 outdoor seats on a 266 square foot patio. Again, it's beer and wine only. And the request is just based upon their experience that a lot of people just like to be able to have these items with their food. It's, again, not the kind of place you're going to go for the purpose of getting drunk. There's a lot of places that have a different character than that, but this is just a place you're going to go and you're going to have maybe a beer with your food when you're enjoying your dinner. So very reputable operator. Very
Is there a Hi-ho anywhere?
There is one other hi-ho, and it is in.
There's actually, yeah, there's
There's
actually two. So
Sorry.
there's
Santa
one
Monica
at,
and Wilshire. Yeah.
yeah,
Mid Wilshire
Mid-Wilshire.
and Santa Monica.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So what was that?
Mid Wilshire and Santa Monica.
It's the same. They kind of have them side by side in both locations.
Oh, okay.
As with Pasta Wovo, with Wovo.
Mhm. And what are the hours in Santa Monica there?
Let me check. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
There has to be some place where people going to a convention, staying at Sportsman's Lodge Hotel, can have breakfast before going, other than the coffee shops at the Sportsman's Lodge.
They 11:30 to 10 p.m. 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Santa Monica.
11.
I'm
sorry. Hang on. Here. I'm sorry. Say that again, Anthony.
It's 11:30 a.m. to
Uh-huh.
10 o'clock p.m.
Okay.
at Santa Monica.
Okay. Valerie, were you saying something?
Nothing important.
Randy?
Yeah, it's a two-parter. First part is what are the hours for Mid Wilshire? So, are they the same as Santa Monica?
I would think they're
Let me double check. I believe so. But
Okay, so then the follow-up question, you can probably see where this is going. If your two other locations are open from 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m., why do you feel it's why should we vote yes to allow alcohol sales from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m.? Considering we're a bedroom community, more so than your other two locations.
Well, wine. Sorry, Anthony. That was.
yeah, it's a fair question. For us as a business, it's all about just flexibility, to be honest with you. And we'll probably likely start till the same hours. But if there's the demand there, having to go through the entire process again just to change it slightly longer would be extremely difficult for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that this city makes it extremely difficult to, they would need to file a whole new plan approval with, $8,000 in city fees and on just to change that. So they tend to ask for more. And then also this is, it is a bedroom community, but this is also part of the Sportsman's Lodge complex. So it might be, there might be a demand for a little bit later hours. And also because it's part of this complex, it is very, very well buffered from any kind of residential use. Sure, there's a lot in the area, but it's not, it's got Ventura Boulevard, it's got Coldwater, it's got, the river, the LA River on the other side, and it's got another commercial use on the other side of that. So it is very well buffered, but again, small restaurant, beer and wine only, small percentage of gross receipts.
And when we say 1 a.m. as well, we really mean closing at midnight. And it's just that extra hour if anyone's finishing up their drinks with dinner to clear out. So it's closing the doors at midnight would be the latest.
Last call, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and, Peter, go ahead and ask your question.
what we've been through. Peter, you're
What's that?
on.
Peter?
Peter,
Mr. Cole?
Do it.
Okay.
Peter's microphone is off.
Maybe Patrice can answer.
Teresa?
Patrice, you mean?
That's Terry. No, I'm sorry, Patrice. Did you want to go? It's Terry.
No, go for it.
It's just Teresa's iPad. Valerie, to your point about how difficult it is for you to change things after they're granted, it's equally hard for residents to get conditional use and alcohol permits changed once they become a problem. So that's why, to the point has been made earlier, that we really want to know specifically what it is you're asking for. And we're every bit as much a bedroom community as anywhere in Santa Monica. And to say that we're buffered by Ventura Boulevard or, other things that you mentioned, is that they're not buffers at all. This Sportsman's Lodge is right butt up against single family resident housing, which has been severely impacted through all the construction. and really is very sensitive to what's going to go in there next. So that's why it is very important that you be very specific about what you're talking about in terms of your needs and what is allowed, because as Lisa said earlier, it is the want of developers to ask for the moon, but it's very hard to get the moon back once it's been given. That's it.
Well, I'm sure that the construction has been very impactful on you guys, but it's not actually right next to any residential neighborhoods. There's certainly plenty right nearby, but you have to look at the reputation of the operator. So in this case, you have an operator that has operated, you know, they've got between Hi-Ho, Wovo, and Sugarfish, they've operated, I mean, how many Sugarfish and, you know, do you have at this point? You know, it's a locally, sorry.
Probably over 12, I'd say. We have some in New York as well.
And they have zero problem in terms of the alcohol or the beer and wine component of the restaurants. And that's because they're very food focused concepts. They're not places that you go to get drunk. You know, it's beer and wine only.
And I can say, having lived right behind the Sugarfish on the corner of Eureka and Ventura Boulevard, that once they call last call, it clears out so fast. No one's lingering around in the streets and in the parking lot. People are just coming to eat and go. I live on a hill that has many residents, and I've never had one complaint from anyone who's complaining about people just loitering after eating at Sugarfish. But it is the reputation of the owner of the restaurant that stands up for me. Anyone else have a question or a comment?
My comment is that on the application, again, it says 10 a.m. And then in the body of it, it says 10 a.m., but it says 9 a.m. somewhere else.
We're good with 10 a.m.
We can just change
it.
Excuse me. I was called on before.
use.
May I make a comment?
I'm sorry?
Hi, this is Peter. My mic was off before. Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I just want to make a global comment to everybody presenting that I live directly behind the Sportsman's Lodge, and the developer of the project has never really dug in deep to make sure that our needs for sound mitigation were addressed. And I respect all of you for your great restaurants, love it. Glad you're coming in the neighborhood. But we do have a sound issue because of the LA River right behind the Sportsman's Lodge, that sound travels in a unique way. So I need you all to be mindful of any outdoor seating with alcohol, that the sound may travel a lot more than you think, and you may get a lot of complaints when you open up. So please be mindful of the noise.
Thank you.
This specific location, I mean, you may have, this is Ventura's here, right? So
I'm sorry, I've lived here 33 years and I've dealt with the previous developer. I am extremely well versed in sound. I'm a professional sound engineer, and I just want to make sure that you have all your T's crossed and I's, whatever. Anyway,
Anthony,
I
you
think
guys
you
don't really
understand.
have music on the patio or anything, right?
No, it's voices. Voices travel in a unique way. We've had trouble with buses idling that hop over blocks. You'd be surprised. So just saying that directly across the river, there's some very sensitive residents to noise, and the sound does travel from the lodge to the neighborhood in a unique way.
All right. Thank you, Peter. Thank you. I would like to move this to a motion.
Again, we're talking about conditional use permits, and we can make the conditions as long as we want. We're short.
Great. So just it's up to the, I guess, the committee or you, Lisa. A friendly amendment, though, in light of consideration of sound, in light of two other locations that have business hours that are limited. I know I don't fault the businesses for wanting to ask for the moon. We don't have to just rubber stamp and say yes. In light of the existing hours of their other businesses, perhaps we change the amendment to say that during the week they close at 11, and maybe Friday, Saturday they close at 1 or something like that. Maybe to at least acknowledge the concerns of residents that live in the area. Just a thought.
I would tend to agree to dial it back slightly.
I'm okay with that. And closing at 11, meaning we could put midnight on the application, just so 11 o'clock is last call, basically 1 extra hour.
So,
So I guess Monday,
midnight.
10 a.m. to midnight, Monday through, or Sunday through Thursday, right?
And then longer on your weekends? Is that what you're
Friday,
thinking?
Saturday till 1.
Do you want to contemplate that? And we're going to have to go back to the board ultimately. And
No, we can approve anything we want and send it forward. Anything.
Right. So Friday, Saturday, 10 to,
So it's no change on Friday, Saturday. It's 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Monday through Tuesday, Wednesday,
Sunday through Thursday,
Sunday through Thursday.
10 a.m. to midnight.
Midnight.
what about Thursday? You want midnight?
Yep. Yes.
So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to midnight, 10 a.m. to midnight, Friday, Saturday until 1 a.m.
Yes.
That would be our recommendation.
That would be our recommendation. Richard, do you want to call out the motion?
Studio City Neighborhood Council
Yep.
approves the applicant's request with these modifications as the time.
Time on. All those in favor? In support of the hours changed?
Aye.
Dean? Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. Hi-ho. Sugarfish is next. Presentation, discussion, and possible motion, Sugarfish Restaurant, a master plan approval to allow the sale and dispensing of beer and wine for on-site consumption in conjunction with a new 1,640 square foot restaurant with 46 seats and 32 outdoor seats on a 320 square foot patio, and having the hours of operation from 9 a.m. to 1 a.m. daily in the C1.5-1BL-Rio zone, case number PAR-2020-112 CUB. Are these changed, Valerie?
I'm looking right now. You know, I had a consistent problem with the, okay, you want the different, yeah, the Sugarfish. Okay, you want the case number. DA 2020 4948 MPA and ENB 2020 4949 CE. Okay. So,
Randy, do you have something to say?
I do.
I'm
How'd you
sorry.
know? No. I just wanted to chime in again. I love Sugarfish. My wife would probably be angry that I'm even asking for something. Your Studio City location, which I frequent probably too much. Again, their hours of operation are from 11:30 a.m. to 10 p.m. So I just am not sure why we would be extending. I know asking for the moon, but I would probably ask for the same friendly amendment that we dial that back a little bit, since your other sugarfish operations don't operate at earlier hours, including the one here in
That's fine. We could agree to the conditions we just outlined for the past location.
Thank you.
Yep.
Motion?
So just to say it verbally, that would be Sunday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to midnight, and then Friday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Yes.
That will be reflected in the motion.
Right. So, the only one that of your restaurants, we didn't change the hours to the weekend to 1 a.m. would be Pasta Uovo. Should we go back and change that too? Anthony, would you be
It should
okay?
be consistent.
Consistent with all your 2 other restaurants?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
I was going to just say that might be a different style of customer and eating.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, if it is,
That's why
Anthony
we
needs to
did
say that.
Easier on security.
Out of all 3, I'd rather keep that one in particular with the later hours.
Okay. Then so it is.
Also
It'll
delight.
stay as is. Okay. With hours of operation for sugarfish to reflect 10 a.m. to midnight, Sunday through Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. Correct?
Correct.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. All in favor? In support?
Aye.
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 Everyone's,
Dean?
it's unanimous. Dean
Yeah.
said yes. Mhm.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes. Thank you. Moving on to Air One.
I'm gonna get some more water, but I
Yeah.
don't need to wait for me.
No, we can take a 1-minute break. I'd like to walk away and get some water too.
Me too.
I'm back.
One sec.
Lisa, I emailed you. I don't know how useful it is, but you've all sent me renderings a little while ago, but I don't know whether it's something that you want to share or not, but it's really good shit.
The supermarket?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oops, I didn't need that one.
I'd like to note that we're not going into uncharted territory when it comes to wine tasting. The Ralphs at Vineland and Ventura went to us, got approval, and
Yes.
nothing has changed that I can see.
What?
A while back, we approved for the Ralph supermarket on the corner of Vineland and Ventura Boulevard to be serving wine for tastings with a unanimous yes vote. And Richard is saying that nothing has changed.
I would. Go ahead.
Did you have something to add, Dean?
I would not compare Ralph's market to an Erewhon type market. They're completely different universes.
Speaking. Oh.
But their tastings is, we're not comparing the markets. We're just saying that.
Well, but the level of customer typically that visits Erewhon
is of a higher caliber, yes.
Yeah. More likely to take place, I guess, is the real answer.
I think there's probably more of a kind of need for it in the sense that Erewhon really curates. It's a small grocery store. It's a small supermarket. They don't, so they're very particular about. I'm sorry. My dogs are cuting.
Valerie, hang on.
You have to introduce it. Sorry. Well, yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and read the motion. Presentation, discussion, and possible motion. Erewhon Studio City, a master plan approval to allow the sale of a full line of alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption in conjunction with a new 11,825 square foot grocery store with on-site instructional tasting and having the hours of operation from 6 a.m. to midnight daily in the C1.5-1BO-RIA zone. Case number. Did you want to change the case number?
Yeah, it's ZA 2020-4946 MPA. And
I'm sorry, say that again.
4946.
Okay.
MPA. And then ENV 2020-4947 CE.
Okay, at the address 12833-12835 Ventura Boulevard, 4218-4230 Coldwater Canyon Avenue, unit number 110 in Studio City, California, 91604. Rep Valerie Sachs. Go ahead. And Yuval is joining us too.
Yeah, I have with me Yuval Chaprut from, did I say your name right? From
Yes.
Erewhon. So basically, this is a full service supermarket, but it's like a miniature full service supermarket. So this is much, much, much smaller than like a Whole Foods or a Ralph's or even a 365. But it's, so basically it's a high-end health food store that is full service, but is very specific about what products they include. So they really vet all of their products in a to have it fit with their concepts and their goals for Erewhon. So probably most of you are familiar with it. I don't know that I don't think there's any other locations in the valley yet. But basically it's, you know, a really kind of, it's very high end and it's very, I'm sorry, I'm fading a little bit. It's very, their products are very curated. And the customer is somebody who has a lot of interest in, you know, the healthy, particularly healthy food that's organic, food that doesn't have too many ingredients, food that is produced in a way that's sustainable. There's all of those things. So the request for them to be able to serve, to sell a full line of alcoholic beverages is just a typical thing that a supermarket would want. It's just something that people want to be able to buy when they're buying their other grocery items. I think the main difference here is that the products that they sell are going to be, you know, from small batch wineries or, you know, microbreweries or, you know, just, you know, again, kind of that have that ethos that Erewhon has overall. It's not big enough to, you know, not that they want it, but, you know, that's a choice, obviously. So, so this is basically a request for people to be able to buy, for a type 21, which would enable people to buy selections from a full line of alcoholic beverage products to take with them and consume off-site. So they would, you know, for the most part, the typical customer would be doing some grocery shopping and then they would pick up these items to enjoy later. The handful of seats that are on premises are not for alcohol consumption. They are just counter seats for somebody who might want to buy something at the deli counter, or a sandwich or something else, or, you know, a bagel and some coffee and eat it there. So that's what those are for. They're not restaurant seats. The instructional tasting is a particular kind of license. It's the type 86 license. And so this basically is outside vendors can come in periodically and have instructional tasting events. So they would have somebody who is, you know, from this winery or whatever, and they would, you know, present, you know, a few different wines in an educational context. And they are, you know, they're limited time. You can't have too many of them. You can only have them during certain hours. And so, you know, they would be roped off, or there might be stanchions or something. They might take place in that seating area, but they wouldn't be accompanied by food other than maybe, you know, a little bit of bread or cheese to cleanse your palate in between your tastes. So that's the concept. And I think it's something that would be particularly interesting here because they do have, they do cater to a lot of uncommon, you know, unusual, not, you know, wineries and microbreweries and, you know, liquor producers that, you know, you don't see everywhere, and so people might not be familiar with them. And this is an opportunity for people to try them in a supervised context. So that's basically the idea here.
So Yuval, what time is your Calabasas store open until?
The majority of our stores are open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. That's the Beverly hours, and those are also the hours in Venice and Santa Monica. That's consistent with our stores. We don't typically open, when we first open the business, we typically don't stay open till 11 o'clock because it takes time to build momentum and have the community understand what we are and who we are and build a customer base. But our business winds down at 11 predominantly every night. But there are those people that like knock on our door and say, hey, we're here at 10:55 and we want to go shopping, and then I can't get them out by 11. So that's why we ask for 12, because there are those stragglers that, like, you know, I want to be very specific that we will sell alcohol between like maybe at 11:15 before we close, because we can't lock them out. You know, like that's just fundamentally with groceries. If you walk up to the grocery store and it's 10:55 but the door closes at 11, you kind of have stragglers behind. So that's kind of the reason why we ask for 12.
Mm-hmm. I sent the renderings that Valerie emailed to me to all of the committee members. So if you do have a second, go ahead and take a look at them.
I did. They're very lovely.
I mean, I think a theme for pretty much every use in here is just like a really high attention to, you know, detail and quality all around. It's going to be a beautiful store. So, and this is just something that's going to, you know, people expect to be able to buy these items when they do their grocery shopping. And if they need to get some items like this and they know they can't get it at Erewhon, then somebody might go someplace else, even if they would rather go to Erewhon. So it's a similar concept as with the restaurants, where it's not, you know, it's not their bread and butter business, but it's an important component of it, partly in and of itself, but probably even more so, just because people, it's a convenience to people when they're doing the rest of their shopping to be able to buy these items. And I think this is a pretty small, beer and wine represents less than 4% of sales overall. I don't know, you know, how it works if you have liquor, but.
Jesse, do you have a question?
No, just waving to a neighbor who walked by.
Ah, okay. Adele?
I have a comment. Whole Foods closes at 10 a.m. and Gelson's closes at 11. I'm just concerned about our neighborhood and this sort of, you know, pushing it to later hours. And I know I go in Whole Foods at 10 a lot, and they get us out. They get us out by 10. And you know, I just don't know why we would want to push all of this timings to so late. That's what I asked that as a question.
So that's a really good question. I think, let me address that because I think it's pertinent. So our customer is, you know, everybody is saying that we're like a Whole Foods on a very small version of Whole Foods. We're a 10,000 square foot footprint, where Whole Foods could be about 40,000 square feet, or somewhere between 35 and 45,000 square feet. So the cost of us to stay open is a lot less than keeping a Whole Foods open. So we're cost effective staying open late. That's one reason. And then number two, the other reason is because our customer base is really just not families. And so it's a lot of single people that come in, and they're working late, and they want to grab groceries, and they want it's a convenient experience. And so that's why we have an hours up to 11. But again, we won't open at 11. We won't, when we open our business, we probably will stay up till 9, and then it'll shift to 10, and then it'll shift to 11 as we build the business. But if we don't see a need, we won't stay open.
I can imagine also, because of the proximity to the hotel, like I could imagine hotel guests, some of whom might be coming from a different time zone, and might be on a different, you know, clock, might want to have the convenience of being able to go over there and maybe buy provisions for their next day, you know, over there. So that's another reason why I think it might, I can imagine later hours maybe making more sense.
And people who have been dining at the restaurants might decide, oh,
let me grab a few things before I head out. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fair.
What are the hours in Palisades Village?
Palisades Village, let me tell you right now. Palisades, I actually wrote these down for you guys. Palisades is closed at 10 p.m. Friday to Saturday, and Sunday 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Sunday through Thursday. And the cafe at all stores across our business closes at 9. We have a big prepared foods business. It's predominantly a big portion of our business. It's a big driver, and that cafe closes at 9. So people can't get prepared foods after 9.
The Whole Foods near me is not as big as all. It's probably the size of the store you're.
Yeah, the one on Spovato, right?
No.
Oh,
One on Spovato is small. The one on
City.
Riverside and Coldwater is quite small.
That's an original.
Yeah, it's a Mrs. Gucci. But I think that I know that the Gelson's also has a wine bar they just put in over on Laurel Canyon. I don't know how much activity they have had yet.
None because of COVID.
Yeah. So, I'm just saying that I think that, these long hours don't suit the neighborhood.
It's not
That's what I thought.
comparable. It's really not comparable to Whole Foods or Gelson's because those places are not going to be surrounded by 400 potential shoppers.
Yeah, the density is significantly different in the Palisades and in Calabasas. It's just a different animal. You know, again, the reason we're not open late is because there's no demand, not because we don't want to be open later. You know, margins in grocery stores, you gotta make them happen because it's a volume business, and we are paying a tremendous amount of rent.
Also, I do want to say that not everyone eats dinner at 7 p.m. Okay, I don't. I eat dinner at 9:30 because my husband works until 8:30, sometimes 10 o'clock. And I'm always yearning to have some establishments, restaurants, markets, whatnot, to be open later. I understand we're a sleepy town, but we also are attracting a younger generation of people, families that want to work out, that want to dine late, that want to shop at a supermarket until later in the evening. It saddens me sometimes that I can't just like go out and be able to have a life outside of my home in the community that I live in past 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. And I don't think I'm alone in this situation. I really don't. So I, for one, support having the market open until midnight.
And a point earlier.
Unmute yourself.
Yeah, just that you have to count back an hour. So if I know a space, if I know a
is somebody
idea where that's coming from. I have no idea where that's coming from. Okay.
Hold
yeah,
on, Valerie. Hold on, Valerie.
Yeah.
Hold on. Did you have
Hello.
something? Hi. Did you have something to say?
Oh, hi. No, I just had a question. Well, I just had a, and I hear what you're saying. You said being one of the, in theory, kind of still young guys who has a young family here living in Studio City and finding places to go. I do wonder, though, and want to be sensitive to stakeholders, and if stakeholders are concerned, and given that, as you all acknowledged, that only their sales of alcohol are 4%, and that it's prepackaged foods that's the main driver. I love it. It's holy cows, it's expensive, but it's great. Given that it makes up such a small percentage of sales, then why not just dial it back to match your other stores? If it's because it's a minute. Do you really think 1 hour? I understand wanting the flexibility, but at the same time, it makes up a very small amount of your sales.
Well, but are you talking about not serving alcohol after that, selling alcohol at that time, or closing the store at that time?
No. Well, you're asking for a liquor license, right? That we're talking about a liquor license. They can say whatever their hours are their hours. But in terms of the liquor license, which is what we're discussing, if it makes up such a small percentage, dial it back to match your other stores. And
So
if you're going to close at the same time, fine.
Well,
Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I don't feel like a promotion to have an educational wine tasting or tequila tasting event is going to happen every night till midnight,
Those can't happen.
right?
Those are
So-
restricted in the hours. Those are earlier.
Right, and I mean,
This is just the grocery part that would be.
Well, perhaps, forgive me, Valerie. I don't know if you want to speak to that, given that it makes such a small percentage of overall sales, and if the community, if that's what stakeholders in this community are concerned about, would 1 hour really, as a flex
Valerie,
friendly amendment?
is it possible to limit the hours of tasting just the
Oh
tasting
yeah,
itself?
the hours of tasting are limited much more. Now the hours of tasting are limited by state law, by the ABC. They're much earlier, so there's not going to be any tastings late in the evening. I can
There you
look
go. I
up
mean,
what those are, so that part is not going to happen late at all, and I can get that for you.
Right.
I don't remember off the
And
top
if
of my head.
and if there's no other consumption on site, I don't see why you would
Right.
give
Why would the whole
this
supermarket have to close down?
small proprietor an opportunity to maximize sales in whatever way they can.
As small
This
as
is
it
a
is.
peculiar kind of license that doesn't really fit for the next person who comes in the door and tries to abuse it. It's very specialized, you know. And as far as I'm concerned, also after decades of working movie sets, they don't do 9 to 5. They go much later, and somebody wants to pick up something on the way home. Why should we limit them?
Yeah, and as a practical matter, I mean, if you're talking about closing at midnight, you're saying the last customer is really going to go into the store at 11:15. And, you know, if you're on a really early schedule, then that may seem, you know, wacky, but not everybody is, you know, as Lisa said, especially I think when you have the hotel right next door. Let me get you the hours for the Type 86 because that's not something that's going to happen later in the evening. It's just not even a possibility under the law. So those have very restrictive requirements.
Are we waiting for you to get that?
We're waiting for my computer to load, yeah.
Are there any other questions?
I do it off my phone, which is usually faster.
Peter Cole? Peter?
Scott Mandel.
I see that. Scott, did you have a question?
Yes. Hi there. I've been listening very patiently, and I just wanted to make just a couple comments. I like the idea. I like the idea of everything being upscale, and that obviously will keep out a lot of the riffraff. Ironically, that's the riffraff that is currently at the Sportsman's Lodge. But I hear a lot of comparisons to standalone establishments, but this is not a standalone. This is a destination location. There's a cumulative effect of having all of these standalones in one location plus a hotel. And I think that at least the artist renderings I've seen, this is going to be a very nice looking place. And it is not only going to attract the upscale crowd, there's a crowd of riffraff that is in our neighborhood right now that will also find this very appealing. And I'm just wondering how you're able with security and fences to keep them out, yet all the other businesses in Studio City seem to have failed doing that. And I'll just leave you with that.
That's 1 minute.
Thank you. Yuval, do you want to answer that? You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi. I just think that customer doesn't come to us. I mean, we've never had very rarely do we have any like disorderly calls to the police or from neighbors or from anybody else. I mean, we opened in the most difficult neighborhood, Santa Monica, city of Santa Monica, city of Venice. We've been through the ringer with approvals, and we've just always had a good relationship with our neighbors and our landlords and everybody else involved. I think the riffraff comment again. I just don't think that. I mean, I don't really have an answer to that. I think that's part of like a general question for Ben about how he's going to handle security in the neighborhood and how he's going to address, people that are flagrant or that are, looking to cause problems. But that's not our customer base. So we're not bringing those people. That's for sure. It's not like we're a separate,
Okay. I would also say in general that having successful businesses are people, they're more likely to congregate this riffraff. They're more likely to congregate in areas where there is a business that is shuttered down or that doesn't have customers going in and out all the time. I mean, as a practical matter, having a lot of, having foot traffic, having lights on, having employees milling in and out, having customers going in and out is going to be less likely to attract that element than a non-successful business. And this is very important to the success of their business, so that's, I don't know if that
Thank you.
I have yours, by the way. For the instructional tasting,
Go ahead.
10 a.m. to 9 p.m. That's the maximum hour, so it has to be within 10 p.m. to 9 p.m.
One sec.
And that's
Any other questions? Otherwise, we're gonna move to, yeah, Jesse.
Quick comment. The project sounds great, in my opinion. I would just, I hope I speak for the rest of the committee when I say that although our stakeholders are perfectly free to use epithets like riffraff, our presenters before the committee don't need to do that.
Oh, I was doing it in air quotes. I apologize. I wasn't. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't. It's not a word that I was repeating. So.
Thank you. Apology accepted. Anyone else? Any other comments? Last call for Peter Cole. All right, not available. Richard, did you want to move to make a motion?
My proposal is that the Studio City Neighborhood Council accepts the applicant's request and for the city to grant it.
As is, as written, 6 a.m. to
As
12
is,
a.m.
unless
daily.
it was an hour change, as is.
Right. I second it. Let's take a vote. All in favor? All in support?
Aye.
Simon, you can't vote.
Dean.
Lana? Was that yes? 1, 2, 3, 4. Dean?
Yes.
Aye.
Adele, are you aye?
Yeah, I said aye.
Okay. Dean is yes too? Okay, it's
Yep.
unanimous. The motion passes.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you. Valerie, you need to get on to Kaya's application. Please have that fixed and get it to us as soon as possible so I can put it in the October.
Yeah, I'll talk to them about what they want to do about the plans and so forth. So I don't know if I'll have an answer for you this week, but hopefully by next week I will.
As long as it gets to me at least 10 days before the second day in October.
I don't think that will be a problem.
That's all
Okay.
be forwarded to Randy.
Right. All right. Thank you, Valerie.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Yuval, Simon, everyone. So, committee, any thoughts, questions, comments?
I just want everybody to be on good behavior so the LAPD continues to have no complaints and no objections to business in Studio City. We're very lucky because so far LAPD does not object to these things, and that gives us more freedom to mold Studio City's storefronts the way we want them to be. So let's make sure that there's no complaints, that the LAPD won't try to overrun what we do.
That's right. Anyone else?
I'd sort of piggyback off of what Richard is saying. I know that it does seem, at least on paper, like a whole lot of licenses to be considering, especially at one property. But it does seem like the nature of the particular restaurants that are being discussed generally would seem to lend themselves to, very much, as far as my experience goes with some of the same restaurants in the same group, the kind of dining experience you described, Lisa, where doesn't sound like 3rd Street Promenade where Barney's Beanery is going to move in next. That's not what we're talking about here. It's
Hope they compete for the best, not head for the bottom.
Exactly right. Yeah, don't think we have to worry about big weddings.
It will draw from a larger radius, so don't kid yourself here. It's going to be a very attractive, popular project, so there will be probably more importing of body count than just our general community, just because of the attractiveness of the project as a whole, not to mention the hotel as well. But in probably that same vein and in the big picture, some of the eating and drinking, if you will, that's going on in the existing parts of Studio City will probably merge. And so if it's not happening at Laurel and Ventura, then maybe it's happening at Coldwater and Ventura. So that's as a whole, I think, something to be mindful of.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get the swans I wanted back on the property, but maybe we can just keep the buses off.
Okay. Anyone else?
We'll see what happens.
You know what? We just have to think positive and just support one another. And this is great. Like, this is going to bring such an amazing energy to the community, and everyone's going to be enjoying it. You're going to be shopping at Erewhon. I'm going to be shopping at Erewhon. I don't know if I can afford working out at Equinox, but I will make sure to have a meal at one of the restaurants at some point. But
goodness, we might feel like we're in Beverly Hills or something with all these.
Hey now,
well, we gotta have one in East Studio City too.
One spot.
Huh, Lisa?
Yes. Listen. I'm praying to the rediscover gods to bring an establishment like the one we just approved and have been waiting for the past 6 years. And by the way, may I remind everyone that I was the first chair of the ad hoc committee for the Sportsman's Landing 6 years ago. So to have
told us
brought
it's
it all the way
for it.
here, I'm actually just kind of astounded myself. So this is going to be great. You know, Randy's going to be there with his kids. Lana's going to be there. And we're all just going to be like...
Not my kids.
No, not your kids.
Not my
but,
kids.
Jesse's going to be out and about. Richard, Adele. Look, I'm excited. I hope the community embraces this change.
I feel after what we've been through, it's going to be.
But I just wish that everyone would just get out of their painful state of, oh, this is going to ruin our neighborhood, but it's not. It's really not. It's just not. It's going to make people happy, and I want everyone to have that attitude and make it happen. So
I hope we can enjoy a hard opening and not just a bunch of soft openings.
Okay. We'll make that suggestion. But I just like being positive about and optimistic about this. Success to everyone. So thank you on that note. Anyone else have a comment before we say goodnight?
Thank you, committee, for meeting and working into the late hours.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for being present.
My pleasure. So thank you, everyone, for being present. Jesse, also really great to see you continued upright. I guess everything's working and moving. So
thank you.
Much see you're in good health. Thanks, guys.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. I second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.